all of you. Today is the third day I'm here, last day in Sikya Inn. And this morning the talk is supposed to be on meditation. Before people start meditating, they should understand what is the purpose of meditation, what is Buddhist meditation. A lot of people don't investigate, so that's not good. The Buddha said, why are people, some people are born intelligent in the world, some are born stupid. Why? Because the Buddha said, if you don't know something and you don't go and ask, don't go and inquire, don't go and investigate, you're not going to be smart, you're not going to be intelligent. But if you don't know something, you take the trouble to ask, to find out, to investigate, to examine, then you will become more intelligent. Even following any religion, if you are born into a certain religion and you don't go and investigate other religions, you're not going to know very much. Even if you follow a certain religion, there are many different types of teaching in that religion. For example, in Buddhism, we have three sects, three main sects. And within that three main sects, there are different teachings. So, you want to know the real teaching, you should go and investigate more. Coming back to meditation, nowadays there are many types of meditation that claim to be Buddhist meditation. And people even start inventing new types of meditation. So, if we want to follow Buddhist meditation, we must find out exactly what is Buddhist meditation. The Buddha said that if any monk says that the Buddha taught like this and taught like that, we should not accept, we should not reject. We should compare it with the suttas and the Vinaya. The suttas refer to the earliest discourses of the Buddha in the five Nikaya. The Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Sangyutta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya and Uddaka Nikaya. And in the Majjhima Nikaya, Venerable Ananda was asked what type of meditation is praised by the Buddha. And he said the type of meditation that is praised by the Buddha is the first jhana, the second jhana, the third jhana, the fourth jhana. And he also said the type of meditation that is not praised by the Buddha is the type of meditation where you don't get rid of the five hindrances. So, the implication is that Buddhist meditation is only the four jhanas, which is samatha or samatha meditation. Also, since the type of meditation not praised by the Buddha is the type of meditation where the five hindrances are not eliminated, so it means the four jhanas is the type of meditation where the five hindrances are eliminated. Why do we want to eliminate the five hindrances? They are called hindrances because they are great obstructions. And the Buddha said in the Sangyutta Nikaya, Sutta 46.40, the Buddha said, monks, these five hindrances are causes of blindness, making lack of vision, causing lack of knowledge, blocking wisdom, resulting in annoyance or vexation, and leading away from Nibbana. These five hindrances normally people like to say sensual desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and worry and doubt. but it's not exactly so. When these 5 things become strong and they obsess your mind frequently, and it is considered a hindrance. But if it is cut down to a low degree, then they do not obsess your mind frequently, and they are not called hindrances. So for some people, these 5 things, these hindrances are very strong. If they are very strong, they give you a lot of problems. First one is ill will, sensual desire. Sensual desire can be so strong that sometimes you see in the newspaper an old man rapes the daughter or rapes the granddaughter because he cannot control himself. The second one is ill will or anger. Sometimes because of, they call it road rage. Sometimes because of just fighting over a parking space, somebody is killed. So this is a result of anger. And then the others are not so obvious. Sloth and torpor is also quite obvious. If you have a lot of sloth and torpor, become lazy. Restlessness is another thing that disturbs us. And doubt is not so obvious. So the purpose of meditation is to get rid of the 5 hindrances. Tonight I will be talking about bhavana, development, which is development of character and development of mind. There I will explain in detail about getting rid of the 5 hindrances. Basically, in the suttas, the Buddha said there are 3 types of elimination of the 5 hindrances. One is short term. Short term is, the Buddha said, if you listen to the Dhamma with eager ears, attending to it as a matter of vital concern, directing your whole mind to it, on that occasion, the 5 hindrances are not present, and the 7 factors of enlightenment are developed. So if we pay focused attention, temporarily we get rid of the 5 hindrances. That's why you find the suttas in the Vinaya, if people listen to the Buddha's Dhamma, the Buddha's discourses, with a focused mind, for example, for 1 hour, listen with a focused mind, you can understand, and you can get stream entry. You become an Arya just by listening. Listening is so important to the suttas that the Buddha called all his disciples, whether monks or nuns or laymen or laywomen, all are called hearers or listeners by the Buddha. The Pali word is savaka. In Chinese it's called senun, listeners or hearers of his words. So if you don't listen to the Buddha's discourses in the early suttas, you're not considered a Buddhist. That's what the Buddha says. So, to understand the working of the mind, the Buddha, and to understand how to tame the mind, the Buddha gave a simile in the Samyutta Nikaya 35.247. The simile is about 6 animals. The Buddha said a hunter caught 6 animals. These 6 animals is a eagle, a monkey, a snake, a crocodile, a dog, a jackal. So these 6 animals, the hunter tied a rope around each of their necks. And then the 6 ropes, he tied into a knot and he released them. What happens? The eagle wants to fly into the air. The monkey wants to climb up the tree. The snake wants to go into the hole to hide. The crocodile wants to go into the river. The dog wants to go into town to look for food. The jackal wants to climb up the hill. So these 6 animals are pulling in 6 different directions. And whichever one is the strongest, he pulls, the others have to follow him. Then later when he gets tired, another strong animal will pull, the others have to follow him. This is the working of our mind. Our six senses are being pulled by the six sense objects. Sights or forms want us to see. Sounds want us to hear. Smells want us to detect smell. And taste want us to be aware of the taste. And touch also want us to be aware. And thoughts want to pull us to think. So our six senses are being distracted, being pulled by these six objects all the time. So now, for example, you are listening to my voice, you are paying attention to my voice. If a car outside suddenly horns, and then you'll be pulled by that sound, you'll pay attention. Or now the drums are going, playing, you might be listening to that. So our mind is scattered, very scattered, because it is pulled by the six senses. So we don't have strength of mind, we don't have control over our mind. And if we don't have strength of mind, then we are overwhelmed by these five hindrances. These five hindrances obsess our mind. So we need to get a hold of our mind. And how do we do that? The Buddha gave a simile using these six animals again. The Buddha said, these six animals, after you tie their necks, the six ropes, you must tie to a strong post or a strong pole. Then whichever way they fly, they run, they jump, they will only go round and round that post. They go round and round that post until they are tired, and they will lie down obediently beneath the pole. So tying them to one pole is fixing our attention on one object. Our mind does not like to pay attention to only one object. Our mind likes to be distracted by the six objects. So when we meditate, we put our attention on one object. And the Buddha's meditation is to be mindful of the breathing. So you sit down and you are mindful of your breathing. After a while, your mind runs away. You pull it back to your breathing. Then it runs away again, you pull it back, and you keep it on your breathing. Doing these two things is using two factors called vitakka and vichara. Vitakka is thought directed. Vichara is thought sustained. So whenever your mind runs away, you direct it back to your breathing. That is thought directed, vitakka. And then you keep your attention on the breathing. That is thought sustained, vichara. So you only use these two things. Every time the mind runs away, you pull it back to your breathing. Every time it runs away, you pull it back to your breathing. So that is how we tame our mind. That's how we practice meditation, to put our attention on one object all the time. Nowadays, there's another type of meditation that is popular. It's called vipassana. But during the Buddha's time, during the Buddha's days, there was no such thing as vipassana meditation. Vipassana meditation is what we practice outside of meditation, in everyday life. In everyday life, a lot of things upset us. So we have to use mindfulness directed to the four objects of sati. And then we also practice right effort, get rid of unwholesome states and to develop wholesome states. That is vipassana, which I will talk about tonight. That is how we get a hold of our mind also outside of meditation. So the Buddha's meditation is anapanasati, mindfulness of the breath, the in-breath and out-breath. And the Buddha said to use that, we have to use Satipatthana. Satipatthana is intense state of mindfulness. It is not ordinary mindfulness, it is intense state. And to make us understand this, the Buddha gave a simile of the most beautiful most beautiful girl of the land. This is in Samyutta Nikaya 47.20. The Buddha said one day the most beautiful girl of the land came out. And when the people saw her, they clapped their hands and shouted, the most beautiful girl of the land. And then more people came to see. And then they asked her to sing and dance. So she started to sing and dance, and everybody clapped their hands. And more people came to see her sing and dance. Then an ordinary guy came along. They caught him. They caught him and told him, you have to carry this bowl of oil filled to the brim and walk among the crowd. And there's a man walking behind you with an upraised sword. If you spill even one drop of the oil, it will chop off your head. So this man is forced to carry the bowl of oil among the crowd of people. Does he dare to look left and look right? Dare not. Does he dare to look at the beautiful girl? Dare not. He pays full attention on the oil all the time because his life depends on it. So the Buddha said, this is to make us understand that in practicing Satipatthana, we have to pay attention on one object all the time. And the Buddha said that bowl of oil represents mindfulness directed to the body. Whenever our mindfulness is not directed to our body, we are not aware of our body, our mind will start running. This is because of the uncontrolled flow of consciousness. This is called asava. In the Buddha's discourses, we continue on the round of rebirths because of this asava, the flow of consciousness. Consciousness creates the world, creates the seeing world, the hearing world, the smell, taste, touch world, the outside world. Thinking creates the inner world. So, whenever we are not mindful of our body, we will start thinking and start daydreaming, etc. So if you pull our attention back to the body, then you are in the here and now. So that is how to practice Satipatthana, and we use that in sitting meditation. So in the practice of meditation, we sit down and then we keep our spine very straight and we put our attention on our breathing. Now, in meditation, we have to know the factors that are conducive to meditation. What are the conditions that are conducive to meditation? To make us understand that, the Buddha gave a simile of a cook. The Buddha said there was this cook, he was a cook of a king. So the intelligent cook of the king, he will observe what the king likes to eat, whether he likes to eat spicy food, or salty food, or sweet food, or bland food, etc. So he cooks according to what the king likes to eat, and the king is happy, the king will reward him very well. But the stupid cook, he does not care he does not observe what the king likes to eat, and he just cooks whatever he likes. So the king won't be happy and maybe won't even employ him. We see in Cantonese, "Chao Yao Yi," give him the sack. So in the same way, the Buddha said, in meditation, we also have to observe what our mind likes. For example, the time of meditation. Do you know what's the best time for meditation? A lot of people don't know. If you investigate yoga in the Hindu tradition, there are 2 hours before dawn, 2 hours before dusk. Is the best time. That is the time when our body slows down. Our body is not so active. So in Malaysia, that would be 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's the best time for meditation. If you try to meditate after your lunch, you sit down and you'll be sleepy, groggy, yeah. So time is one factor we have to consider. Another one is, for example, the type of food that suits you. So some people like me, I have gastric ulcer. If I take sour-rich food, I get a lot of flatulence, a lot of gas. That will make me weak and upset my system. So you have to notice what type of food, what type of drink suits you or does not suit you. For example, for us monks and nuns, we don't take dinner. So if at night we take coffee, that will upset us. Coffee at night. Some people can't sleep. Some people on an empty stomach, you take coffee, you might get gastric problems, flatulence and all that. So this is observing the conditions, and also the place, the temperature. Certain place that is too hot is not suitable. A certain place that is too noisy and meditating with all the drums going on, it's not very suitable. So all these conditions, you have to be aware. And yesterday morning I gave some meditation instructions. And I'll just recapitulate. When we observe our breathing, we observe our breathing from the nostril as it goes in the nostril and goes down to our abdomen. And you should follow the breathing. It's only later books like this Visuddhi Magga, they say you should contemplate only on one point, at the tip of your nose or on your upper lip. This is not the Buddha's teaching. The Buddha's teaching, you should be aware of your whole body. If you're not aware of your whole body, your mind tends to run. If you try to focus only on one point, and you focus a bit harder, you get samadhi headache. You find all cramp around your third eye, around your head. I know of two monks who practice very hard, watching the breath at one single point, and they got pain in the head. A pain in the head, and then they asked the teacher, the teacher asked them to continue. And then they got a permanent pain, and one of them had to disrobe, cannot meditate anymore. Another one also could not meditate anymore after that. So, in meditation also, we have to use our wisdom, see the different conditions. So we watch our breath from the nostril down to our abdomen. If you have good karma, the mind is a happy mind. It calms down much faster. Then you are able to follow your breath from the nostril down to your abdomen, up and down, up and down. And if you can continue doing that slowly, you don't have distractions, your mind starts to become one-pointed. So just now I said, to meditate we have to use the two factors, vitakka and vichara, thought directed and thought sustained. Direct it to the breath and then sustain it on the breath. So using these two factors, if we can watch the breath longer and longer, slowly the mind starts to become one-pointed, starts to unify. Not like the ordinary scattered mind. So when your mind is able to unify, it energizes, not like the ordinary mind that is so scattered. So when it energizes, you get a healthy mind. So three things come together. First one is ekagata, one-pointedness of mind. The second, the other two that come along with ekagata is piti and sukha. Sukha is bliss, because you have a healthy mind. Bliss arises from within. The bliss arises, a deep bliss, not like ordinary sensual pleasures. This is a different kind of bliss. It's comes from deep within, much more satisfying. But it's different altogether from sensual pleasures. And then it comes along with delight. When you experience that, you're very delighted. But the problem is when you're delighted, a lot of people get excited. And you get too excited, just like falling off the chair. You fall out of your samadhi. So then you regret, and then you want to remember, retrace your steps to get back to that state. So if you can get back to that state, very good. But the problem is many of us, our mind is not so well developed, and especially as we grow old, our faculties become weaker, and you're not able to see your breath so clearly. But even if you can't see your breath so clearly from the tip of your nostril, from your nostril down to your abdomen, you still must pay attention on your whole body. Because as long as you pay attention on your whole body, you pay attention on your posture, whether you're sitting straight, pay attention on your hands, where your hands are, pay attention on your legs. Then as long as you're aware of your body, the mind, even though it runs away, it comes back to the here and now, comes back to your breathing. And then because you can't see your breath so clearly, what you can do is use a more simple way. When the breath goes in and goes out, you count 1. Goes in and goes out, you count 2. Goes in and goes out, you count 3. Just keep counting up to 10. Then after that, count 1 again, 2, 3, up to 10. So it's a more simple way because you can't see your breath so clearly. Because our breath is a very subtle object. Subtle object is hard to notice. Because it's hard to notice. As long as you keep what we want to do is tie our attention to one object, not allow it to run. If you are able to do that for long, even though you can't tie it very strongly, you just keep it there slowly over a period of time. It gets stronger and stronger, your concentration. So when it gets stronger and stronger, these 5 jhana factors you have, vitaka, vichara, ekagata, piti and sukha. When you have these 5 factors and you feel the bliss and the delight, you start to experience jhana, the first jhana. But since our mind is not strong, normally when a person attains even that state, you fall out of that jhana very soon. So you have to keep practicing to prolong that jhana. If you can keep practicing, if your first jhana becomes stronger and stronger and stronger, then only you are ready to consider going into the second jhana. So I don't need to talk too much about that. So why is meditation so important? I just would like to mention one other thing, is that piti and sukha, just now I mentioned, even though it's very blissful and very delightful, it is not strong perceptions. It is a subtle perception. What is strong is the concentration, the ekagata, and the mind is strong. It becomes very obvious. But the piti and sukha is a very subtle feeling. It is very obvious, very distinct, but it is subtle. It is subtle, so it does not overwhelm your mind. You cannot be too attached to it because your concentration, your mind is strong. That's one thing. The other thing, why is this meditation so important? Because the spiritual path that we are practicing is to end suffering. And the end of suffering or enlightenment is defined as asava kaya vaham. Asava kaya, destruction of the asavas. Destruction of the asavas is destruction of the tendency of the mind to flow, the tendency of consciousness to flow. Most of us, we like to think the world is outside there and I am inside this body. That's a wrong perception. Our six senses give us a wrong perception of the world. We see and we think the world is outside of our eyes. We hear and we think the sounds are outside of us, etc. But actually, if you analyze properly, it is not so. For example, when you see something, what happens is that the light particles, the photons, hit your retina, your eye, and it causes the seeing consciousness to arise. The seeing consciousness arises, and when we pay attention, the Buddha says there is contact. When there is contact, then we see. So, what is it that we see? What we see is in our consciousness. Yeah? What we see is in our consciousness. Consciousness comes along with the object, and the object is the world. Nama Rupa is the world. So where is consciousness? Consciousness is not outside, Consciousness is inside. So the world that we see is inside us. It is created by our mind. So the whole world of seeing, hearing, smell, taste, touch, everything is inside our mind. That's why in Buddhism, mind is so important. That's why in Dhammapada verse, the first verse, the Buddha said, mind is the forerunner of all states. Mind is chief. Mind made are they. If one acts with a pure mind, happiness follows one, like the wheel follows the foot of the ox. If one acts with an impure mind, suffering follows us like a shadow that never leaves. So our mind is very, very important. Our mind creates the world. So if you have an impure mind, you'll have an unhappy mind. That's why people who suffer from depression, as happened nowadays, they don't understand the Dhamma, so they don't create enough blessings, so they hate themselves. That's how you get depression. But if a person practices according to the Dhamma, what the Buddha teaches, you know how to act as a human being, then you have a lot of happiness inside of you. And that happiness also will bring you to a heavenly rebirth. So coming back to this asava, as long as consciousness flows, the world continues, and samsara, the round of rebirths, continues. So the aim of the holy life, the aim of the spiritual path is to slowly reduce the tendency of the mind to flow. So when we meditate, when we practice the Buddha's meditation, samatha, we are focusing our attention on one object. And if you pay attention on one object, and you are able to continue to pay attention on one object, the mind stops flowing. The mind stops flowing. So if you are able to attain samadhi, concentration of mind, for example, for 1 hour, your mind stops flowing for 1 hour. So if you can stop your mind for 2 hours, even better. And then if you can prolong that stopping of the flow of consciousness longer, then you have more and more control of your mind. Then there is hope that one day you can destroy the tendency of the mind to flow. So if a person meditates by other ways, does not have samadhi, does not have control over the mind, is not able to stop the flow of the asavas. Some people, they think they are meditating. Actually, we have brought a book called Contemplation and Meditation. I'm trying to say the difference between contemplation and meditation. A lot of people sit down and they practice vipassana. They are thinking all the time. Their flow never stops. That is not meditation. Meditation is to be able to cut your asava at least for some time, so that there is hope that one day you can cut it permanently. Yeah. So that's why a lot of people don't understand the difference between contemplation and meditation. And also, if you can attain a state of samadhi, of concentration, for example, you attain the first jhana. When you attain the first jhana, what happens is that your consciousness transcends the sensual desire realm. We are in the sensual desire realm, where we have male and female. We are obsessed by sensual pleasures. But when you attain the first jhana, you have transcended the sensual desire realms, even transcended the sensual desire heavens, and you have gone into Brahma heaven. The first jhana is the heaven of Mahabrahma. It's a different world altogether, different realm altogether. So the Buddha said, if you can attain the first jhana, you have gone beyond the sight of Mara. Mara cannot see you. Mara cannot reach you. You cannot be disturbed by Mara, Satan. So you see how powerful the first jhana is. That's why the Buddha said, if a monk can attain the first jhana even for one moment, as short as a finger snap, the Buddha said that is really a monk. And he deserves the food that is offered to him. And he listens to the teacher's word, that means the Buddha's words, the Buddha's instructions. So this is a purpose of meditation, to get a hold of our mind, to stop the uncontrolled flow of the mind. I think I'll stop here. Any questions?
Morning, Bhante. I have a question. Normally I do my meditation sometime at 5 a.m. But normally it's 7 something to 8. But I encounter one thing when I was doing the mindfulness meditation. But I encounter when after I concentration, there's a bright light rushing at me, and suddenly I wake and I become very frightened. What does this mean?
And suddenly you awake, that means you fell asleep.
It's a very strong light rushing to me.
When we start to meditate, there are certain experiences we get. In Chinese we say Keng Kai, Jing Jie, Keng Kai in Hokkien. Some of these experiences are strange, and they sometimes occur only once and never occur again. Bhante Suwano, the late Bhante Suwano, he told me when he started meditation, this happened to him. He saw a lotus flower opening, and then when the lotus flower opened, he saw a baby inside. And then as the lotus flower opened, he looked at the baby. When he looked at the face, he found his own face. This is all imagination. Yeah? The mind plays tricks on us. My experience was in the initial stage. When I meditate, I found the upper half of my body, from the waist up, turning the opposite direction. Then I thought it seemed very real. My legs are facing the front, my upper half of the body facing behind. Then I slowly opened my eyes. It's imagination. Recently, there's a man in our monastery. He has come to stay because he has intention to become a monk. So he told me, he meditate, and he's floating up a few inches above the ground. I said, did you open your eyes to see? He said, no. I see, if you really floated, people around you would have seen. So you see, the mind plays tricks. Don't worry about these things because they come and they don't come again. But as our mind starts to concentrate, we are able to focus our mind. Light arises. Light arises and then it goes away because your mind is not strong. Only in the fourth jhana, the Buddha said, the light persists. Your whole body gets lighted up. The whole body is shining very brightly from the tip of your toe up to the top of your head. You are emitting light. That time, even the devas and the ghosts will know. That time they will pay respect to you. But when you get the fourth jhana, Mara, Satan, cannot sit still. He's afraid you become enlightened, become greater than him. He will come and disturb you, just as he disturbed our Jesus Christ. He disturbed the Buddha and the Arahant disciples. So if I have not attained to the fourth jhana, don't worry, Mara won't come for you. Any other question? Speak louder. Speak louder.
I like to ask about anapanasati. Yes, I remember Bhante said that anapanasati is Satipatthana. Anapanasati is just the body meditation, mindfulness of the body. But these are Satipatthana is mind, feelings, Dhamma. How does it follow?
If you look at my book, it's explained. When a person attains the first jhana or any jhana, the mind is so clear, so mindful. Even though he is paying attention to his breath, the feelings that arise or feelings that cease, he's aware. The mind states that arise and cease, he's aware. So he knows impermanence, so he sees Dhamma also. So it's only when your mind is so clear in the jhana states that when you're observing one thing, you're also aware of the other things. You're not paying attention, but you're aware. You're not taking special effort to pay attention because the mind is so clear, so mindful. Because some people don't understand the state of jhana. There's one monk, he says, what is the use of jhana? When you're in jhana, you have no mindfulness. That's just the opposite of what the Buddha said. The thing. You haven't read my book, Contemplation and Meditation. Have you read?
Any more questions to ask, Bhante?
Yeah, Nanda.
At least so one
Video is for the crowd, for the people.
before we go for the
Sure,
Dhamma offering.
There's some many people they told me that don't enter to jhana. Jhana will make you fall in state of stagnant.
those people who are teaching false Dhamma. These are people who are trying to destroy the Buddha's true teaching because they never study the Buddha's words. They are saying things that are completely opposite to what the Buddha is saying. Don't listen to all this. Listen to the Buddha. The Buddha said, when the Buddha was about to enter Parinibbana, Ananda asked him, Bhagavan, after you have gone, whom should we follow as our teacher? And the Buddha said, after I am gone, take the Dhamma Vinaya that I have taught to be your teacher and your guide. So our real teacher is our Buddha Gautama. 本色释迦牟尼佛. And also in Anguttara Nikaya 4.180, the Buddha said, if any monk says that the Buddha taught like this and the Buddha taught like that, don't accept, don't reject. Compare it with the suttas and the Vinaya. Only if it follows the sutta and Vinaya, you can accept it as the words of the Buddha. In fact, the Buddha said, if you don't listen to his words in the suttas and attain stream entry, you're not a Buddhist. You're an external sect follower, Bahiro, the Buddha called. So a lot of people, they think they are Buddhists. They are not Buddhists at all. Some of them are trying to destroy the Dhamma, teaching false teachings. In the Samyutta Nikaya, Sutta 16.13, the Buddha said, the true Dhamma will not disappear as long as the false Dhamma, the fake Dhamma, has not arisen. But when the fake Dhamma has arisen, then the true Dhamma will slowly disappear. And the Buddha said, when the fake Dhamma arises, it will be very difficult for people to distinguish between the real and the true, the real and the fake Dhamma. Just like the Buddha gave a simile. The Buddha said, when fake gold arises, people will find it very difficult to distinguish between real gold and fake gold. So that is what is happening now. People are not quoting what the Buddha said, they are quoting what their teacher said. Who is their teacher? Possibly not even a Sotapanna. If they don't study the suttas, they cannot be a Sotapanna, cannot be an Arya at all. Because the condition to become an Arya is to get right view. And right view only comes from two conditions. The voice of another teaching you the true Dhamma. And the second condition is focused attention. So it's very clear, if somebody is not familiar with the early suttas of the Buddha, cannot be an Arya. Even if they attain psychic powers and have great samadhi. Nowadays, you find some people with good samadhi and they think they are Arahant.
Bhante has been emphasizing the effectiveness of the sutta study to gain right view. But not discovered the they use the sutta as protective spells, parita. I want to know how effective is the sutta functioning like a spell. This is my first question. The second
Wait, one by one.
That means Arahant can be attained without any jhanas.
Okay, this chanting, during the Buddha's time, there was very little chanting. Nowadays, people pay attention to chanting. It was not so during the Buddha's time. And nowadays, like monks give blessings by giving chanting. During the Buddha's days, the monks give blessing by giving a Dhamma talk. And you give a Dhamma talk and people understand, they get blessings. But if you just chant and people don't understand, where does the blessing come from? The Buddha said nobody can bless you. Your Good actions will bless you. Your evil actions will curse you. Nobody can bless you, nobody can curse you. You yourself bless yourself or curse yourself by your good actions or your bad actions. Yeah. So a lot of the chants that you find in chanting book nowadays were created later. Most of it was created later, did not exist during the Buddha's time. Your second question about dry arahant comes from the commentaries. Commentaries are later books written by monks. In fact, just now I mentioned about the Samyutta Nikaya 16.13, where the Buddha talked about false Dhamma. The Buddha said that this false Dhamma comes from the monks themselves. The Buddha said, it is foolish, these foolish people here. Here he was talking to the monks, so referring to the Sangha. He says the foolish monks later who create all this fake Dhamma. So in the what is the later books? Later books is like the commentaries, the Abhidhamma, the Mahayana Sutras, and other books like Visuddhimagga was created 900 years after the Buddha's passing away. So of course many of these books they have something good not all of it is bad but they put some Dhamma, some things that are contrary to the Dhamma they put inside. So unless you are familiar with the suttas, you don't know. For example, this dry arahant comes from the commentaries. In the suttas, in the Anguttara Nikaya 3.86, the Buddha said, basically, to attain Satipatthana, the first fruit, you don't need any jhana. To attain the second fruit, Sakadagamin, you need 1 or 2 or 3 jhanas. To attain Anagamin, the third fruit, you need 4 jhanas. To attain Arahanthood, also you need 4 jhanas. Okay? Now the commentaries, they cakap banyak lah. They say there are 5 types of Arahant. One has 4 jhanas, one has 3 jhanas, one has 2 jhana, one has 1 jhana, one has no jhana. So they use this no jhana one to say it's a dry vision Arahant. Not possible. There are so many suttas in the 5 Nikayas where the Buddha said liberation can only be attained by someone with deep peace of mind from samadhi. Because just now I mentioned the sutta, the 5 hindrances are makers of blindness. That means you can't see well, causing loss of vision. Causing loss of vision means you cannot get, vision means right view, Vision is view. So you cannot even get right view if you have these 5 hindrances blocking you. And then leading away from Nibbana. It does not lead you to Nibbana, it leads you away from Nibbana. So if you have 5, unless you get rid of the 5 hindrances, there's no hope of becoming a Sotapanna, getting right view. No hope of getting liberation, Nibbana. So a lot of people, that's why I said earlier, they don't investigate. People say meditation is good, they straight away go into meditation, go into the wrong meditation. When I came into Buddhism, I wasted 9 years because I was a Mahayanist. 6 years I was following Mahayana as a layman. 3 years as a novice monk and monk. In the end, I got so disappointed with my teacher. Always talk about great compassion, great compassion. When I stayed with him for 3 years, I realized he had no compassion. Worse than an ordinary layman. Greed, hatred and delusion so strong. Can talk like that, but action like that. So I suspected something wrong with Mahayana. I went to investigate Theravada. Then I found contradictory teachings. I have been on a spiritual journey a long time, I was born into a family supposed to be Buddhist, but they practice more of Taoism. And then I went to a Catholic school for 12 years where I had to study the Bible for my LCE. So I'm quite familiar with the Bible. Then, because when I was in Form 5, I told myself one day I must become a Catholic. I will baptize, even though my parents object. Then when I was in Form 6, I started to have a lot of questions. I asked the Christian brothers, they could not answer me satisfactorily. For example, if God is compassionate, God is merciful, why create hell? You create hell when you put somebody there, isn't it? Otherwise, no point of creating hell, ma. Yeah? And then they say, if you don't baptize, you cannot go to heaven. What if there's a Hindu man, very pious, very good, very generous, helping everybody, but he does not baptize? You mean he has to go to hell forever and ever? No logic, ma. Yeah? You ask them these questions, they cannot answer. So I had doubt. So I left Christianity. After I went to university, I had a friend, Chinese, but practicing Hinduism. So from him, I became interested in Hinduism. I studied and practiced Hinduism for 4 years. And later when I started working, young bachelor, enjoying myself, wild life. Because I was working in a military camp. You had the Air Force, you had the brigade, you have the recce unit. So every day join the army officers drinking beer. But enjoy too much, I start to dream of ghosts every night. Every night dream of ghosts, giving me warning. It was very good. Then I started to think, why? Then I realized when I was young, I was very spiritual, very interested in spiritual. Now enjoy too much, vacuum inside, spiritual vacuum. So I went back to study the Bible. Then because I was good to my workers, one of my staff, Malay man, gave me a Quran, English translation of the Quran. I studied the Quran. And I studied the Sikhism, I studied Baha'i, every religion I studied. Then only came to Buddhism. When I came to Buddhism, I found, wow, very deep, cannot understand. Start reading, cannot understand. But I kept reading. I found interesting because it's different from other religions. Don't ask you to believe in God. It's a DIY religion. So from there, as I studied more, slowly the jigsaw puzzles start to come together. Slowly you see the overall picture. Then the idea came, I want to become a monk. So after I came into Buddhism, also went into the wrong sect for 9 years. Became disappointed and then came to Theravada. After coming to Theravada also, I found wrong teachings. So because I've been cheated, I start to write very straightforward, criticize. Initially I criticized Mahayana, later I criticized Vipassana, make a lot of enemies. But at the same time, make enemies also help a lot of people. So we must investigate. You hear dry vision, Arahant, you must find out where does this idea come from. Okay, any more?
Excuse me, Bhante, we should speak. I am sure there's a lot of burning question in all of us. Investigate we must, but out of deep respect and compassion to our Bhante, let's have a break so that Bhante can have his Jhana. And we can continue after 12:15. We have Q&A session here again. I hope to see everyone, and please throw out the burning questions that you have. That is the open session before we continue our next session at 9, which is the most important cultivation. Yeah. So let's compose ourselves and hand over to Bhante for inclusive.
When we listen to Dhamma, we have devas and devis sometimes come to listen. So we invite them to rejoice with us. Repeat after me. Itta vata cha'am hehi Sambatang punya sampadang Sabbe deva Sabbe bhutta Sabbe satta Anumodantu Sabba sampati Siddhya Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu